Hey everyone, this is Matt from endsickness.org. Today I'm going to talk about the hidden causes of invisible illnesses. There's a lot of people suffering out there with these symptoms, but no one's really recognizing it or giving them an idea of what's causing it. So I'm going to go over this in great detail today in this video. First, let me say I'm not a medical doctor. This is not medical advice. It's based on my personal experiences for informational and educational purposes only. So back to the topic, invisible illnesses. What are the actual causes? Well, there's a number of things, but I'm going to break it down into about 3 categories or so. It's going to be what we're consuming. This could be, medication, food, etc. It could be what we're inhaling. This could be mold, mycotoxins, other environmental irritants, and what we're thinking or doing. Okay, so our stress and what we're thinking obviously could be based upon our storylines, our narratives, our belief systems, our perspective, those things, and how they impact us. And also, I'm going to loop in there in that section the perception of danger, threat, safety. All those things are extremely important. So invisible illnesses first. If you have symptoms and they're not showing up, you look like a normal person and people aren't really respecting your illness, it could be caused, these ups and downs in your day, the ups and downs in the symptoms, they could be caused by something that we're consuming first. So we've got to look first at dairy, nuts, seeds, gluten, processed food, eating too much meat, eating too much food in general. These things, are probably the highest risk of all in terms of altering your symptoms. If your symptoms are going like this through the day, oh, you got a few good hours, then a few bad hours, etc., then the reality is there is a chance to have consistent good hours because you're making some decision along the way that's making it go up and down. It's not just simply always up and down because that's what your illness is. No, your immune system is responding to something that you're doing, whether it's something you're thinking, some type of stress, whether it's something you're eating, etc., something you're taking, and it's causing you to go up and down. Your immune system is the reason that your symptoms flare up, and it never makes mistakes. Your immune system will always perceive something as a threat and cause the inflammation release, which will cause your symptoms. So what we're consuming, I talked about the foods you want to avoid. The foods you really want to stick with, your potatoes, rice, beans, lentils, fruits, vegetables, etc. Beans and lentils will probably last. They're hardest to digest, so you want to start off with the other ones and gradually add those back in. You do not need tons of protein. This is a myth. You do not need it. I'll talk more about that in other videos. The next thing that could be causing your invisible illness is mycotoxins. Mycotoxins or mold toxins. This is the most hidden cause of chronic illnesses that no one talks about. My daughter was disabled from this completely and then recovered a year later once we addressed it completely, no symptoms. I had autoimmune disease I later realized was triggered by mold exposure. I've worked with countless clients that have had issues that are triggered by mold exposure, so you cannot discount that one. If you want to learn more about testing, look at my other videos, go to my website, endsickness.org. I got lots of information on it there. The last thing you want to talk about when you're dealing with an invisible illness is past trauma, okay? Past trauma is really a huge one, all right? Past trauma, what we're thinking on a daily basis, these things. What happens with past trauma is we think these past traumas are not affecting us, and then we'll see things in our reality that will subconsciously remind us of the traumas or these difficult events, and then it will continue to compound in our brain. Then our brain will start to be thinking faster, the thoughts will be sliding in quicker, you'll be more defensive, and it's because there's unresolved past trauma that you're being reminded of in your environment, in your reality, that's causing your brain to accelerate because it believes it's under threat. There's some perceived danger because it's being reminded of things that are threatening from the past as it observes these things. And this is what happens with people, So it's past trauma and it's what we're thinking currently that affect our symptoms. Because when we think these things, it actually affects our immune system. Our thoughts, our perceptions themselves are actually, the immune system actually responds to them. Look up, mast cells respond to your emotions, okay? You have emotional response or you have a perception of danger, a perception of something in your reality that's threatening, then your mast cells will start to send out inflammatory molecules, and this will go ahead and cause symptoms to occur, right? So your perspective, your perception, the way you're thinking, the thought loops, the sadness, the anger, the despair, all these things feed into this invisible illness and the symptoms you're experiencing. And in addition, synthetic medications, synthetic supplements, I want to say almost all the supplements are synthetic. So if you're taking a bunch of supplements, that could actually be making things worse eventually. I will say that. And, if you want to get over something like this, you have to be able to rebalance the body. You got to do slow, deep breathing, meditation, eating the right foods I talked about, living in the right environment, believing the right things, thinking the right thoughts, having the right story, the right narrative, the one where you heal at the end, where you're not a victim, where you're in control now. And that's part of this video. It's all about taking control. It's not about, feeding into this I'm sick thing and I'm going to be sick the rest of my life. That's not going to help you get better. You have to be able to understand where you're getting worse, why what you're doing is causing you to get worse, And you have to go ahead and make changes. Otherwise, you'll be stuck in a cycle of chronic inflammatory reactivity, because all this is being caused by your mast cells, your own immune system. And every time you're triggered by something you're eating, inhaling, or thinking, it causes inflammation, which makes your symptoms get worse. And then you think that I got this chronic illness, but in fact, it was just something you did that triggered things that made it worse. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you have any questions, reach out to me. Go to my website, endsickness.org. I got hundreds of articles, hundreds of videos on there, and hope you have a good one.